Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden. In today's video, I finally want to take you with me into the vegetable garden. I've already announced it in my video, Jobs for March, and then nothing happened because it was too cold, it was rainy, it was just not the perfect time to really take you with me into a big mud pit. But now it's beautiful. I think you can see my back is clear blue sky, sun is out, it's just lovely. How I want to structure today's video is, first of all, I want to tour you around and show you how everything looks at this time of the year. And also, I'm really excited to show you the new part of the vegetable garden, which I already shared in one of my previous videos with you, but it really comes together. I spent some time in there, and I think now it is perfect to give you a little update on that area too, because I can already see how it is going to look in half a year from now. So many ideas in my head, so many things that I want to do, and I'm also going to start working there a little bit. So how I want to work my way through is, there was a cat in my back and now Alfie runs. Maybe you can see, yeah, there was Alfie. So what I want to do is really focus on little areas, work a little bit there, share with you what I do there. And maybe this is a nice inspiration for you, maybe some new ideas on what you can grow in your own vegetable garden this year, or just as a reminder on like now it is a good time of the year to do those kind of jobs in your garden. So I hope that you are excited to join me in my garden today again. It is such a beautiful day, like the sun is out and you can really tell that the temperatures are rising. It's warm, all the perennials in the borders, they're finally really starting to grow. A lot of the grasses are coming back. The aconitum looks already perfect. Tulips are coming up. So it looks so wonderful. What I want to share with you too is that at this side of the gate, I planted 4 more of these beautiful corners. This is a variety called Midwinter Fire. I did a video where I planted a big drift on this side of the fence. You can't see it probably now against the sun, but here on the other side you can really see it because backdrop with a hedge. This is actually when these fiery colors really pop and work, and I'm so happy that I bought 4 more of those. Very thrilled. So this is the gate. This is how we enter the back of a garden, which is very much a work in progress area. I also put the containers that I haven't used in my previous potting video here. So the violas with these real zingy vibrant colors, they ended up here, but I think that they are so nice because there was really nothing interesting here, and now entering the gate to the vegetable garden is fun too. And this is finally the vegetable garden. So this is the back of a garden which used to be a slope, and I leveled it out into terraces. So this is a top layer where I have 3 raised beds, and I have a little miniature greenhouse, kind of like a raised cold frame in a way, that I bought there to put some of my precious plants in. So I'm going to show you in a second what is in there. Then I want to work definitely in the raised beds. I have my mid layer where I grew all different kind of vegetables last year. Very successful. Fennel was amazing. Corn was great. Beets, fantastic. Potato harvest was good. There is another cold frame that I put here, and I prepared already a little bit. So I really want to spend some time in this area and talk you through. Then there is a third layer where I'm not going to spend any time at all today. This is where I grew pumpkins last year, and this year I want to grow pumpkins and potatoes. And then the last layer, this is fun and exciting. This is my entire new vegetable garden. I put raised beds there, cold frames. I prepared for beans. I'm going to take you there in a moment. First of all, I quickly want to show you how everything looks here. I already started to tidy up a little bit, by the way, but still one of the jobs that I really need to do, and I think all of you can see yourself or find yourself at this time of the year, is like tidy up a little bit. There's still like things where I'm like, whoa, what is that? I've got bamboo cans which I need to store nicely. Then I've got like some tiny pots where nothing really grows inside. Then I have, what else? Well, I have my shadow here. More plantings, things. And I've got like some of our hardwood floors where I thought maybe I can do something outside with it. I won't, by the way. And then here, oh, so happy that I finally purchased something like this. I never had a greenhouse, I never had a polytunnel, anything. I need to open it quickly. So you open it here on this side like this, on both sides. And then just lift it. So what I put in here already, well, it's double protection actually, are, can you recognize it? Delphiniums. Those are the delphiniums that I sowed last year in autumn. They made it through winter. They looked nice. Some of them were already tackled by slugs and snails. I was like, okay, I have to be fast. So I put them in here. On it goes again, just to protect them so that they can grow to a nice, good size in here. before I'm going to plant them in the landscape, because if I put them in the landscape like this, it's going to take the slugs and snails a second to eat them. So that is it for the top layer. Now I'm going to take you down with me into the brand new area of the vegetable garden. This here is my brand new area of the vegetable garden. Before I'm going to show you what I did, I quickly want to give you an update on my peach tree that I planted last year. This is a variety called Saturn, and it looks extremely well, I have to say. Some people were doubting if I can honestly grow peaches here at the south coast of the Baltic Sea because of the climate. I put it in an extremely sheltered position. It is southwest facing. It's very warm in here, and it grew a lot last year. It was a tiny, tiny tree, and honestly, everything that you see here, this entire stem, is completely new from last year. So it grew pretty much 50 centimeters in a year, which is substantial, and it has a lot of buds here. Can you see? All these tiny pink little things are going to come to bloom very soon. I'm excited. I'm kind of considering of planting a second one because it was also really beautiful. I love the foliage didn't show any sign of disease, probably also because of the climate zone here. So maybe I'm going to buy another one. Then in this area here, I laid out my raised bed. So underneath there is a thick layer from all the cutting material that I have from the upper garden. So everything from my perennial borders went straight in here. And then I used all the grass as a top dressing. So at least it's kind of like uniform in color. So it kind of looks like hay, even though honestly, everything you see here are the grasses from a garden. So it is like calamagrostis, panacea, miscanthus, everything went in here. And I've already started to prepare 2 of the raised beds, and in one of them I finally want to plant something today. So these raised beds, very, very simple, not even very tall and high, but how it works in general is that you have like these 4 wooden beams, and then you have this metal thing that you put in there to put them together. So if you want to dismantle them, you can store them very easily. Inside, I bought these plastic bags that you can put inside. They are made to match exactly the size. So you can even lift it out if you wanted to, if 2 people, strong 2 people probably, and started filling it with some soil. So I've already prepared the first one. I still want to put some more goodness in here, some compost. And then I have these thingy on top of here. It kind of looks like a polytunnel, but it's not. It is a fine mesh. And in here, I want to grow some of my cabbages, because last year at one point I unfortunately had white cabbage fly, and this is supposed to prevent it from flying in. I hope it's going to work. So I have some nice seedlings that I already want to put out in here into this beautiful raised bed. The entire area, now there's a little bit of shade just because of the tree in my back, but in general it gets most sun throughout any area of the entire garden, so it's perfect to grow anything. Here I've already prepared a little bit for a future video. I want to put some nice berry shrubs here, and the soil in this area is really sandy. Like digging here, it is just white soil, basically, like sand. It's just sand. So I thought, okay, I need to do something if I want to grow something directly in here, and especially in this patch here. So I've prepared this soil especially for something that I want to grow. And then here I have 2 cold frames that I set up. They were the best purchase in quite a long time, I have to say. Make me extremely happy. Let me just open one of them. So they are exactly the same as the one that I just showed you in the top vegetable garden. So it opens and closes with these hooks here on both sides. And if I open it, you see what I already have on the inside. So some of my winter sowing went in here, and I think that the baptisia starts to germinate, which is really exciting. Then I have some perennials in here that I kind of forgot to plant last year, but they came back over winter in their tiny pots. And then I started potting up some of my dahlias already, so they are just sitting and waiting in here up until May, when the temperatures are nice enough and warm enough, so they can already grow in here. So let's close it again, because today will be a nice warm day, which means that everything is supposed to grow beautifully in here. So this is pretty much my brand new area. One last thing before I forget about it. I put up this tiny bamboo trellis because I want to grow some beans there. And underneath here, what I want to do is finally really just put some flowers in rows that I will use for cut flowers, because the other side of the slope, which was initially supposed to be my cut flower area, is an extension of the garden. Now I hardly ever cut anything. So I was like, okay, so here I really put things in that I will only grow to cut them. So I can finally get into the garden and cut some flower bouquets. But what I want to do now is take you with me up again, and then we start working there on the first layer. I started all 3 raised beds up here last year, so pretty much 1 year ago. And if you have raised beds in this height, there's a certain way on how you build them. So at the bottom there is a thick layer of cuttings, like branches that you cut back, and then comes a layer of cuttings from your perennials. So a lot of dry material. I put a little bit of lawn clippings in here, some compost, and then I really filled with good fresh soil from the garden center, from the back here. But what happens after 1 year, and especially after winter, is that the soil level really sinks, and it sank a lot, especially in those 2 raised beds over there. So I don't have enough soil to prepare all my 3 raised beds today, but definitely this one here will be ready. And this is the one that I dedicate to salad crops. They were in here last year and it worked extremely well. So I've already started to backfill, and I'm just going to do it now together with you to really show you how to do it. So all you do is really come with a good quality garden soil. This is one actually for flowers, but this is what I always use, and I also used it last year and it worked extremely well. So then just make sure that it's leveled out nice and evenly. Then I come with some organic bone chips, because as I was digging in here, there are actually earthworms in here. Sometimes I'm really surprised how they come in here, but earthworms are good because they're just good for the for just breaking down those things in your soil. So also like microorganism comes in, and they will break down the organic bone chips into nitrogen, which is good for a lot of the plants, because salad actually requires a good ample amount of nutrients in the soil. So all I do now is rake it in so that it is really well distributed everywhere in the soil here, just like that. And there we go. So this raised bed is ready for planting. I never really fill it up all the way to the top, because it is very much exposed here. This is number 1. So I always feel it's quite nice when it sits in here a little bit lower and deeper, so that the wind, when it comes from west, from my back actually, that it can't just hit everything and just push everything down. Especially when it's like small salad crops. Last year I was really successful with that. And then I also used the black raised beds, because I thought that they keep the heat better, because I'm not in the hottest climate possible. I'm at the south coast of the Baltic Sea. It's a zone 7B, so the climate conditions are a little different here. Don't need this anymore. First thing that I want to do is I prepared already some nice cute salad crops that I sowed indoors. And how I want to do it is quite easy and simple. It might seem a little early to plant them, but I did exactly the same last year. So I've got these clochers actually from these miniature greenhouses that you use for your windowsill. And now I see that there are 2, and I just need 1. So 1 is enough. So they will go here and protect the salad crops. I need to see if I can actually use both of them and put them next to each other. That would be yes. Oh, that is great. That means I can put more salad crops here. So how I'm going to do it now is, I've got these little modules here. And I've got 2 different things. So I've got a green salad and I've got radicchio, which is going to grow a little bigger. So I think, like that I'm always just going to plant them individually, very, very carefully, because they're still so small. They haven't really rooted and big, but it is, ooh, that hole was too deep. The tiny plant just said goodbye in there. But the thing is, like, thumb it in nicely. Think about the spacing though, because last year I did the same and I cramped them. They were so close at one point that towards the base of the plant they started to rot a little bit. So I was like, ooh, there was, well, you know, you have limited space and you kind of want to do as much as possible, but sometimes really think about the dimensions that your plants are going to grow into once they have really fully matured. At this time of the year, especially here, I have to cover everything with clochers, because if I wouldn't, there is still the risk of a slight frosty night, and this is definitely going to knock salad crops down. So I'm going to continue, obviously, in a moment. I'm not going to do all of this now. So I will put that on the top then. And I think in total, I'm definitely going to get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 8 salads in here, which would be really lovely. And then 8 of the radicchio on the other side. The next thing that I'm going to do is I will start sowing. I will start sowing salad seeds here. I bought some new interesting things. I bought Mitsuna Purple, which is apparently a Japanese salad, which is a little spicy, comparable to rucola. So I'm kind of excited about that. I've got Joy, where I honestly forgot really what it was. I need to Google again. I've got cilantro, which I love. I had it last year. And fresh cilantro was one of the best possible. So all I do now, and this is very, very simple, with my fingers, I'm just going to make 2 tiny trenches here. Let's see if this, yeah, the salad is in an extra little package. Don't need my gloves anymore. Often salad seeds are very small. Cilantro is like round little balls. But what you need to do is definitely, because it is windy and it is exposed, to sow them in tiny trenches so that the seed doesn't fly away. And also do it at a day where it's not windy. Like last year, I did this video at the exact same race bed when it was a cold day and it was a windy day. And after that, I was like, I'm not going to do that again, because on the video, I think you could see that I was really cold. The seed was flying everywhere. I had salads popping up here and there. I was like, oh my, that was not the brightest moment I ever had. Cilantro is a little bigger. They are like tiny little pearls, so you would sow it almost like station sowing. So I'm really going to space them out a little bit and then see and hope for a good germination. Cilantro is quite sturdy. I really could harvest them up until late November, I would say, last year. Only the first real deep, harsh frost kind of knocked them down. That looks good. That looks perfect. All right, back they go into the package. Always easy to see them, so make sure that nothing is where it shouldn't be, like here. Then I can close it again, and all I do now is gently backfill the trenches, like that. Remember where I planted, obviously, so immediately I'm going to put the next trench in here for my salad crops. And then I'm just going to sow everything bit by bit. Plant all of my last little salads in here, cover them with the closures, water everything in because there is no rain in the forecast. I'm going to do that now, and then I take you with me to the second layer because there is a second job that I want to share with you. Here on the second terrace, Here on the second terrace, I grow the vast variety of all different kind of crops. Last year, for example, I had potatoes, sweet corn, I had beans, I had my cabbages here, I had beets, I had Swiss chard, I had artichokes, so really a lot of different things. And I was quite successful with most of the things, I have to say. One crop that didn't work last year was celery, and I love celery. And in one of my seed videos, I believe, I got the really good advice from David from Poland, who said, like, if you want to grow celery, you have to soak the seed in warm water before sowing it. And that was a magic trick. I did it. And so far, everything germinated. Everything looks fantastic. So I think this year will be a good year for celery too. What I want to do though is I think most of my cabbages, they will move into my raised beds down there. So here I will focus on all different kind of things. Fennel will definitely go here. Sweet corn will go here. One thing that I'll do and that you should also do is like always rotate in your vegetable garden, because different kind of vegetables need different amount of energy, and some vegetables like cabbages, for example, they require quite a lot of energy. So you should not always plant them in the same area, even though I'm always trying to enrich the soil in an area. Here you see there is a cold frame, and this is which I will use for my bell peppers and chilies this year. Last year I had them up there in this raised bed, and it really took forever for them to get started and for the fruit to ripen, especially in the bell peppers. The chilies, they were quite all right. They were all ripe at once. So I was like, my goodness, what to do? So I dried 90% of my chilies. I'm still having a lot of them. So I think this year I'm going to do a little less chilies probably, because I was so successful with that. But I think by putting the bell peppers here in the cold frame, they kind of stay in a miniature greenhouse in a way, and I think that this will do the trick, and hopefully I'm going to be able to harvest bell peppers a little earlier this year. But what I want to do in this area in particular is I want to improve the soil, because naturally here at the south coast of the Baltic Sea, the soil is quite sandy and is not low in nutrition necessarily. You can grow very well, but still I'd always try to feed the soil rather than feed the plants, because when the soil is good and well prepared, your plants will thrive accordingly. So what I did is I prepared 2 buckets with horse manure. And you might be like, oh, horse manure, it's not really disgusting. It doesn't smell like anything. Trust me, it's not gross. So I got it from a farm, and then I just let it sit in buckets for 4 months, preferably not over winter time, and then it just starts to crumble apart. And then I mixed it, half horse manure, half with like really fresh, nice garden soil from the garden center, especially for the vegetable garden. Mix it all together. There's still a lot of straw in here, which doesn't really concern me. It's all right. But the thing on why you want to prepare your soil with horse manure is that it is very high in nutrients and it's very good for your vegetable growing. I read, and I was a little bit surprised, that apparently plants that do not produce flowers, they thrive better on horse manure. The weird thing though is that I always use horse manure to grow dahlias, and they obviously produce flowers, so it's also magical for dahlias. So try it out on your own, figure out on your own how it works though, and this is very, very simple. I'll remove the greenhouse first now, so I can actually work in the area. All right, so all I do is I'm taking shovels and just distribute it here, kind of evenly. And I hope that I have enough. But when I do actually plant, and I most of the time put tiny plants in here, I'm not going to do direct sowing that often, is that I put some organic bone chips in the planting hole anyway. So I'm going to do more in a moment. I don't want that this takes forever now. So then I come just with this and rake it in to really enrich the soil, because you don't want that this lovely stuff sits on top now, because then your roots can't really touch it. I really want to make sure that this mixes with the native soil here, because only then, over the years, if I do this like every year just a little bit, I'm really going to have a lovely, nice, fertile soil and just perfect to grow any kind of vegetables. And you can see already the difference in color, just the mixture of the horse manure with the garden soil just looks totally different to my native gray soil that I have here. So this is one thing that I'm going to do. I have got 2 buckets. I think it's enough for the entire area. I hope that I'm going to start at the front, work my way towards the back, and if I miss something, I still have 2 buckets of horse manure. So definitely something that you want to get your hands on well in time. Don't use the manure when it's fresh. Really make sure that you just leave it somewhere out of sight for at least 4 or 5 months, because then it's ready to go into your garden. One of the last things that I want to do in the vegetable garden today is I want to start planting in my first raised beds down here in my brand new area. And since I already explained to you that I have this dome over here, which is made of mesh, so that white cabbage fly doesn't have a chance to fly in, I want to plant some cabbages. Actually, I want to plant broccoli, and these are my seedlings. Aren't they looking fantastic? I've also got some fennel in here, so don't be confused by the feathery thing here. But perfect germination, really happy. I've got 2 varieties. I've got white cauliflower, which was fantastic last year, and I'm not giving up on purple. Yellow did not work at all last year, so that was like complete failure. But purple kind of was producing fruit last year. They were not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, let's put it that way. They were edible, but okay, I'm determined this year will be different. Then I also need this little thing here, which is just a simple big jar. And I'm going to come to it in a moment what I'm going to do with that. So all I do now is just mix in a little bit of the organic bone chips again, so that they can break down to nitrogen. And in here, I also put in some compost, some homegrown compost. I don't do it with the salad crops though, because compost, at least mine, is not sterile. And that means that obviously weeds or whatever else might just pop up. And when it is in a raised bed with a salad, it's sometimes a little bit hard to define what is a weed and what is a salad right now. And here, because these individual little plants are really nice and cute looking, that won't be so difficult. So let me just try and get it out, tip it over, get it in the soil like this. It holds really nice. This is a white one. Plants are looking fantastic. You can already see, by the way, with the leaves, which color your fruit is going to get, because the white ones, the leaves are really nice and fresh green, while the purple ones already have a little streak of purple in there. In your back, there's Alfie. Like, I'm sorry, sometimes I'm really distracted, but Alfie's always with me, and now she's munging on some of the hay here. So the jar. This is a good old trick from my grandma. And all it does is it protects your plant at this time of the year. So you take it, tip it over like this, and this is all you want to do. So it kind of acts like a miniature greenhouse. So when the nights are too cold, it makes sure that the plant doesn't get any frost damage. But during the day, such as today, because it is really beautiful and sunny, the plant gets a nice, like a greenhouse climate in there. It really is, that is all it is, literally. So it stays really nice and warm in there. And your plant is going to grow faster eventually, or hopefully. And some of these pots, I actually put 2 seeds inside, so I need to see how I'm going to distribute them, because they both look really cute and I don't want to lose any of them. And even though that this was sterile soil for the seedlings, there's still weeds in here. Can you believe it? But yeah, this is what I'm going to do now. I will plant all of them in here. So I think in total I get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Yeah. Probably 11. I'm also going to put some in the middle and see, because I don't want to harvest them when they're like big whoppers. I prefer to harvest them when they're still like in this size, because then they're really nice and tender. And cauliflower from the garden, believe it or not, also broccoli, by the way, it just tastes different. It has a really nice buttery flavor to it. So I love to grow them. This is just my first patch, and then later on in the year I'm going to continue with the process. So yeah, I'm going to plant these, and then I show you how it looks when everything is planted and ready. What a lovely start into my vegetable garden year. I already finished all of those projects that I wanted to do in my vegetable garden today. I'm so proud and happy that I finally started working here. And surprisingly, the one thing that I love the most is that I haven't really shown you that I did it, but I tidied everything. Well, I need to put some mulch there to cover the black landscape fabric, but still, everything is nice and looking neat now. And what I did as well is I quickly tidied up my strawberries. So all the dead foliage from last year, removed it, just made sure to reveal all of these nice, fresh new green leaves. Can't wait for them to start flowering, because they're really beautiful, ruby red, wonderful. They were so happy in those containers, so that was a quite good idea to just put them here. Also very happy that I started with my sowings. So the first things are underneath those clochers. Can't wait to see first germination. Prepared all of the soil here. So ready for some planting, which is going to happen in about May time. Then the third layer, nothing happened there yet. This is where I'm going to put some potatoes at one point and sow some pumpkins, which is also going to happen way later. And I finally put my first plants in my raised beds down there. 5 raised beds in total. Can't wait to give you updates. So happy with the results. You guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was interesting for you. I always love to show you a mix of all different areas in my garden. So a little bit of planting, potting, new areas, vegetable garden, and I'm going to continue with things that I want to do in my vegetable garden, because since I now have some vacant space in my miniature greenhouses for indoors, I'm gonna sow some colored beets that I grew last year too. They were fantastic. They're red, they're white, they're the ones with the pink and white stripes inside. Then the yellow one, where I haven't had a single yellow beet last year. What a misery. So I hope this year I'm going to be more successful. And they are perfect because you can always do station sowing with them, which is ideal because then once they grew in, you can just easily take a single module and just put it out in your landscape. Push the seed in nicely because they are big, which means that they don't just like to lie on the surface. And that's it. See, 10 seconds pretty much, and I'm ready to go. Water it in, put the cloth back on, and onto the windowsill it goes. So that's finally it for today's video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much if you decide to give me a thumbs up for this video, or if you subscribe to my channel. And I would really love to welcome you next time around in my garden. Take care, guys. Bye.